Hello, everyone. My name is Stanley St. Rose, and today we're going to be talking about The Monsters Are Due on Maple Street, written by Rod Serling. Now, before I go into summary analysis of this work, please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment so that the channel can continue to grow. Now, this work by Rod Serling is just very interesting, very important and fascinating because it has us thinking about what people do when they lose control of a situation, when they don't know what's happening in a situation. So basically, the monsters are due on Maple Street. What ultimately happens? We have this street. We get introduced to this street right away, and Maple Street is it's like an American street, If you think about American towns, American cities, think about a street where there's a bunch of households, and there's families, up and down the street, and the people know each other. It feels like, when you get to know this community, it feels like a tight knit community of all types of people who know about each other, and they're tight knit because they know about each other's personal lives. They know, who's who. They know each other's names. They know who lives on the next block, or they're aware of each other. So this is a type of community where neighbors know each other. Or if they said hi, they've had communications. They've talked to one another, and so this story begins with this kind of like this is just a normal American community, and like just like any other type of community in America. That's what you get when you start with this story. But it doesn't stay like that. Right away, we kind of get a sense that something's about to happen. I mean, from the title of the story itself, the monsters are due on Maple Street. I mean, it gets you prepared. It gets you in the mindset. You're looking for monsters. That's what happened to me as soon as I started reading this text. Is that I'm looking for monsters. Where are the monsters? Are they going to come from the sewers? Are they going to come from the sky? Are they going to come from a house? Are they going to come from a spaceship? So this reading definitely does have you on edge from the get go because you feel like there are monsters coming. You don't know what kind of monsters. Do they have claws? Do they have tentacles? What's gonna happen? So even though the story opens up in this like quaint, this little neighborhood community of neighbors, you kind of feel like there's something that's about to go wrong. Something's afoot here, right? And so we get introduced to the community. We kind of get a sense of what's going on, and then there's a meteor that goes overhead. And then pretty much everything stops working. At first, everything was working. Kids were playing. Adults were doing adult things. People were moving about, doing their normal routines. The meteor passes overhead, and then all the technology stops. All the technology stops. The lights go off. The cars won't work. Lawnmowers, anything that's electronic, it just stops working. Nothing's working anymore, and everybody's kind of worried. Nobody can leave. You can't leave the street because cars are not working. If you're gonna leave, you're gonna walk, right? You're gonna use your feet. And so the people start panicking, and because it's dark inside, lights are off, everything's off, technology's not working, phone, like nothing's working. So people start to come outside and people start to answer questions. First it starts off with logical questions. Is this a power outage? Is this something, with the power plant? Or you're thinking about, is this something with the city or the town? Or we start to, the people on Maple Street start to think about logical answers to this problem of all the electricity, all the appliances, all the cars not working. They try to think of logical, sensible, reasonable reasons there for why nothing's working, and nothing can really answer their questions. Now there's this kid by the name of Tommy. He reads comic books. He's a kid, and to him it's aliens. The comet came, it passed overhead. The aliens are coming. The aliens, according to the great knowledge of Tommy, the kid with the comic books, these aliens, they've been planning this. They've been afoot. They've been getting ready for this takedown of human civilization. And so Tommy says, when the adults are talking, he says, yeah, it's the aliens. It's definitely the aliens. And the adults, they kind of like, Tommy's just a kid. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But it plays with their mind. They're not happy. They're disquieted. There's a feeling of disquietness over the community because everybody's just trying to figure out what's going on. Is there a monster? Is there something afoot? Is there some is there something that they have to fight? So we have Charlie, um, we have Steve, we have Pete, we have Les, we have Tommy, we have all these types of characters coming, and trying to figure out what's going on. Pete is a character that tries to go to another block, another street, trying to figure out. Maybe they have power. Maybe they have some answers. And so he goes off. He goes away. And Steve and Charlie, they're trying to figure out what's going on. They're trying to answer some questions, and pretty much it's this tear down of civilization right before our eyes because people start to point fingers at each other. They're starting to believe the idea that aliens are here and that the aliens are coming to kill them and that there are aliens amongst them. And they start to call each other aliens, and then suspicion breaks out, and people are suspicious about one another, and they're saying, "Are you doing this? Are you involved? Are you talking to the aliens? Are you connected to something that we don't know about you?" And Les's car comes on, and people think that, oh, Les, maybe he has something to do with this because his car is the only car that's working. And then people are pointing fingers at Tommy throughout the story. They're pointing fingers at Charlie. They're pointing fingers at Steve, and so no one knows what's going on, and pretty much they're all blaming each other. The prejudice comes out, the suspicion comes out, and everybody is starting to get into arguments and get into everybody's personal lives. Talks about ham radios, talks about people going outside, and people noticing weird behavior from their neighbors, and people noticing weird things from this person and that person. Everybody's being questioned. Steve and Charlie are like the at the top of the squad. They're questioning, they're pointing fingers. They start to point fingers at each other. They're questioning each other. And then at some point, a gun comes out. Somebody brings out a gun. And then Steve has the gun. And then Charlie gets the gun. And people are screaming and yelling. And Pete comes back. And they're all spooked. They're all scared. And they think that Pete's the alien because it's dark. They don't know who's coming. And Pete is coming. He's walking along. He's coming. And Charlie shoots in the darkness. And it's Pete. Pete is dead. Charlie kills Pete. Um, yeah, it just builds up and builds up and builds up until Charlie has a gun and kills Pete. And so the killing begins, and then people are looking at Charlie. They're blaming Charlie. They're blaming Steve. They're blaming each other. And it just, then they start to blame little Tommy with the comic books. It's all Tommy's fault. He's in league with the aliens. We don't know. Maybe Tommy's the alien. Maybe Charlie's the alien. Maybe Steve. Who knows? Somebody's wife. And so the whole neighborhood, Maple Street, just breaks out into a riot. People fighting, people yelling, people, it just breaks out into a mob. And then different houses, lights are flashing on, cars are coming on and off, technology is going haywire, on, off, and they're just attacking. Children are attacking, adults, men. There's a gun involved, and there's our Pete's already dead, and it's just a brawl on Maple Street, and that's when the monsters come out. So when you're reading this story, that's when you understand that the monsters are out. Because guess what? Well, the humans are the monsters. The humans are the monsters. They're indeed the monsters. And when the humans are the monsters, all the gloves come off. All the gloves come off. And so, you really have to look into the details, deep into the details, because they start to fight. Um, and at this point, it's a bloodbath, because it's just we don't know what's happening. Lights are coming on and off. Technology's going haywire. We don't know who's the monster. We don't know who's the alien. We don't know who's the boogeyman. and everybody's just trying to fend for themselves, and it just breaks out into utter chaos. And then from afar, we get these two figures talking about Maple Street. They're like, this is what happens to these humans, right? You turn off a few cars, you turn off the power, you leave it for a couple of hours, they start pointing fingers, and then they kill each other off. That's what the aliens from afar. So we kind of like we zoom out. First we zoom into Maple Street, then at the end of the story we zoom out, and then we get these two figures talking. They're it's highly suggested that they're aliens, and well, they are aliens. We're pretty much told that they're aliens, and they're just pretty much running a project, a scenario, and they're just showing how this demonstration of turning off technology, turning off the power, letting humans go crazy, point fingers at each other, prejudice and suspicion and all that kind of stuff. When they all get into it, they can start killing each other very quickly just because you turn off their technology. And the aliens are like, hey, you see how well it worked on Maple Street? We can just pretty much wash and repeat this all over the United States or any other country that we want, because the humans can just kill themselves, and we don't have to, as aliens, we don't have to get our hands dirty. They can just kill themselves for us. So it's a total alien takeover. These are hostile aliens. And then, the narrator tells us basically this is what happens with prejudice and suspicion. They can lead to bloodbath, and it's not only just on Maple Street. This is something that exists in the real world. When you have prejudice, you have suspicion, and when things are not comfortable, it can pretty much descend into anarchy. In terms of deeper meaning, in terms of analysis here, there's a lot to take in. I mean, the idea that humans are monsters, it's not a simple idea. I mean, it's an idea that's been portrayed even in the Bible. The Bible's been portraying this forever, that humans are literally, without Christ. Because like this is a central idea that's an ancient idea. It comes from the Bible, that without Christ, humans are wicked, are sinful, are evil. They have evil hearts. They will kill each other for money. They will beat each other, assault each other, abuse each other, torture each other. Um, fight each other, kill each other. Humans can become their own monsters. They are the monsters. I mean, think about serial killers. Think about mass murderers. That's a monster. A monster is something that frightens you, that terrifies you, that horrifies you, and that kills you. That's Some humans are legitimately monsters, and these we see how every single person on Maple Street, a couple in the first act, in the first couple lines of the story, these were moms, these were dads, these were children, sitting at the dining room table, having breakfast, eating eggs, smiles all around, happy go lucky families. And by the end of this story, they're all bloody, pointing fingers, killing, Charlie shooting, and pretty much ready for a bloodbath. So that's a lot to take in. So the idea that humans are monsters, or have the capability of being monsters, is definitely true, and it just takes some preconceived notions, preconceived ideas, some suspicion, and we could all be at each other's throats. That's how simple it is. And these aliens, that's what they run, and that's what they prove with the monsters are due on Elm Street. Wow, not Elm Street, Maple Street. Sorry. I mean, it seems like Elm Street. This really does seem like Elm Street, but it is Maple Street. This is ultimately what happens, and it says a lot about human unity, that we're not united, and it doesn't take a lot, for humans to go against each other and to try to kill each other. It just takes a few ideas, a few preconceived notions, and we are at each other's throats. So this is the morals and the points and the messages of the story. They definitely speak on the page, but also it says a lot about our world and the world that we live in, and how cold it can be and how bloody it can be. So that's my summary. That's my analysis of this work. Please remember to leave a like, subscribe, and or comment, and I'll see you guys in the next video.